Planet Coaster 2 is here, and with that dropped a great trailer giving us a first look at the game. Today I thought we'd break this trailer down to go through everything you might have missed in the Planet Coaster 2 reveal trailer. Now the trailer opens on a B&M dive coaster. As we know, this coaster was quite a popular one in Planet Coaster 1 and is seemingly making a comeback in Planet Coaster 2. In the reveal event that I was very lucky to be part of, the developers talked about coasters that were fan favourites from the first game that will be returning in the second game alongside new coasters. So it's great to see that the B&M dive coaster will be joining us for this second game. And as I'm sure you will have noticed that in the first part of this trailer we see our first ever look at the water rides in Planet Coaster 2 with a drop slide. Cannot wait to build one of these. I'm sure it's going to be really interesting, especially with the different mechanics we can use for building these slides. It'll be really cool to see what we can do with them. Also in the background, it looks like there's a lot of new tropical pieces for us to build with. You can see behind the passengers here these wooden statues. There's also some nice wooden beams with some rope detailing on, which has created this structure. New fences, new ground pieces, new flower decals, and also some new shrubbery as well, with some new trees and bushes being added. The actual B&M dive coaster train also looks like it had a little bit of an upgrade too, with some slightly more modern details and general detailing improvements as well, which is great. Also just in the background you can see one of the Skyscream flat rides. This was a fan favourite in Planet Coaster 1, so it's great to see it coming back in Planet Coaster 2. This shot also may give us a glimpse at another biome perhaps. The sky looks slightly more tropical in this one, and if you look in the background there's some more tropical trees that almost seem to be too far away to not be out of the map. So we could see some new biomes in the next game. It's also hard to tell from this view, but it looks like the in-game supports might have had a slight tweak as well. You can see them coming out of the side of the rock here onto the actual track and the slide, so unless these are custom, the in-game coaster supports could have had a nice upgrade too. Now as you come out of the bottom of the slide here, you can see a whole host of things, which I'll try to go through as quick as possible. Firstly, you can see the whole water park aspect that's been added to the game. The pools themselves look quite freeform, so this will be really interesting to see how they're constructed and how they interact with paths, but more importantly how they interact with guests as well. You can see the guests in the pool doing multiple different activities, whether they're on floats, swimming or splashing each other, so it looks like the guests have had a bit of an upgrade in terms of what activities they can do as well. Off in the midground you can see quite a lot of these tropical pieces I was talking about earlier. There's a lot of new wood pieces and different coloured rocks, but this is also to do with the slightly seaside marine theme that they were talking about, where there was like different coloured rocks and coral kind of giving it under the sea vibe, which is a nice new kind of set of theming items to be added to the game. Off to the left we can see quite a few different new theming pieces, including different beams with the ropes attached around them like I mentioned earlier, new thatched roofs and new tropical detailing. And then in that building are 3 of the new water slides that have been added to the game. It'll be really interesting to see as well how these are built and constructed. You can see the 3 of them are subtly different, so I can't wait to have an experiment with those to see what they really like to use. In the centre again there's a lot of new building materials for the actual walls of the building, the detailing, the roof, the foliage. There's a lot of new pieces I'm noticing so far in this game. Quite a lot of them to do with a tropical theme, which will be perfect for when you're building new water parks. And then off to the right you can see some of the new like nautical water park theming that almost looks like submarine kind of style, so I can't wait to use this sort of theming palette for a project in the future. It looks really interesting. Onto the coasters in the background. To the left of the screen we have what looks like a Vekoma Arrow Looper with the Vekoma or Arrow trains from the previous game. So like I said, there'll be quite a lot of rides from Planet Coaster 1 making their way back into Planet Coaster 2, which is great to see, and it's nice that we're still going to be able to use the classics when this game launches. On the back right there's the Intamin Giga Coaster, and as you can see it's running the same trains as it was in the previous game. Again, great to see coasters from Planet Coaster 1 making their way into Planet Coaster 2. And then on the right as well, the pink and yellow flat ride is once again a flat ride from Planet Coaster 1, but during the gameplay session that we were shown, this flat ride has been heavily worked on to give it almost a remaster and facelift for Planet Coaster 2, making it much more customizable than ever before. Now this is an absolutely incredible shot, and there is so much to unpack here. Firstly, you can see so many of the new theming pieces that I was talking about in this kind of tropical seaside nautical theme that's been implemented into this second game. There looks to be a huge variety of detailed pieces for this theme, and I cannot wait to use it. You can also see off to the left there's another variation of the Intamin Giga Coaster, again running the Intamin Giga Coaster trains. Nice to see the classics being brought into Planet Coaster 2. There's also a wooden coaster, but we can't see which trains it's running, so it's unclear to know whether this is a wooden coaster from Planet Coaster 1 or one that is new for this game. Down just underneath the 2 coasters you can also see some of the new changing facilities that have been added to the game. This will offer your guests the ability to change from park clothes into swimwear to be able to access the water park, and then vice versa to get back into the dry park. Down to the bottom left, you can see yet again another variation of some of the water slides that are in this game. This one of the ones where you end up in a bowl and then fall out of the hole through the bottom. Again, really exciting to see these. It'll be interesting to see whether the slide builder works where you have individual slides that only have certain access to pieces, or whether all of the slides have access to every piece. You could make some really creative and crazy slides. The pathing and the way that it interacts with the pools is also really interesting here. It's hard to tell whether a path cover is actually being used or not, or whether this is what the actual in-game paths will look like. But the pools and the paths, the way they interact with each other looks very almost like organic and not on a grid. So it'll be really interesting to see how this actually makes its way to the full game, because as we know, the pathing in Planet Coaster 1 can be quite frustrating, so seeing improvements like this is a welcome feature I can't wait to use. In the centre of the screen, I can't really tell what that is. It almost looks like it's some sort of walkthrough experience or some scenery, but then from a quick glance I almost thought it was a splash battle, so I'm really interested to find out what that is, like whether it's a scenery piece or like an actual user and park guest interactive experience. There's some really cool stuff in this trailer. Off at the back you can see a lot of like city style flat block buildings. There's a lot of different styles and detailing that they've gone for, that a couple of pieces and styles that we haven't seen from the first game, so it's really exciting to get to use these. There also looks to be quite a lot of like blimp balloon mascots around the map. There's the dolphin one in the foreground, there's a shark and a crab and I think a stingray in the distance, so it'll be really interesting to see how they work in the game too. Just behind the flat ride I was talking about earlier, it looks like there's either a larger version of that flat ride or a slightly different one. Again, we don't know most of the rides that are confirmed for this game, so it'll be really interesting to find them out in the future. I've just noticed on the pool side there is also diving boards of different scales as well. There's a lower down one in the background and a higher one in the foreground, so it'd be really cool to see how these work. And then just towards the background on the right of the screen is something I'm sure a lot of people will be excited about, me included, is the B&M surf coaster. Now there's a great shot of the ride vehicle here which looks fantastic, and they did also talk about in our demo that the patterns that will appear on the different trains can actually be interchanged for a whole host of different patterns, so that's fantastic to see way more train customization coming into the game. And as we know from the creator event, you will be able to attach scenery items to these trains that will move with them, which is incredible. It gives us so much more opportunity for train customization. I cannot wait to test out these features. In the shot as well, you can see a lot more of the tropical theming down to the bottom of the screen, and that blue strip almost kind of looks like it's been made from art pieces, so there might be a lot more flexibility with the size and scaling of art pieces in this game, or it could just be a scenery piece in itself, but as we know, object scaling is available in the game, so that will make building scenery so much more unique and interesting. Here's a great look at one of the new flat rides that they're bringing into the game. It kind of looks like one of Zampola's products where it kind of spins around and swings out. You've got over-the-shoulder restraints and one-person seating, but you can also see there's little decals on the floor. There are numbers for each row which are actually on the ground texture, which is quite cool. The ground texture is one of the wooden board textures, I think, from the original Planet Coaster game, although the colour does look slightly different, so who knows whether we'll be able to change the actual colour of these. In the centre of the attraction there's some new foliage options that we haven't seen before, and then there's some little wooden cutout turtles that are on the ground as well, which are another nice scenery feature that have been added. Now we get a great shot here of how the water slide builder is going to work. You'll be able to place these track by track sections just like the coaster, but it also looks like here you'll be able to place certain sections in almost like groups and sets of elements. Like this turn here, how it's auto-generating the supports around a singular column, which is really cool. Like I said, I think the in-game supports are going to receive a big upgrade in this game. Fantastic POV shot here of one of the park guests going down one of the slides, which I assume means we'll also be able to ride our slides, which will be fantastic. There's also going to be a whole host of new park guest animations as well. As you can see here, this person that flies off the end of the slide immediately goes to grab their nose, which is quite cool. Nice little detail there. This shot here excellently explains what I was talking about, where you can attach scenery to coaster vehicles and flat rides and that they will stay with that ride throughout the duration of its motion. Really cool to see. You can also see off to the left a Chief Beef stand, meaning that probably all of the brands from the first game will be coming back into this game. On the right at the back you can see, I think, what will be one of the ride signs. Whether this is like a pre-made font that only displays the name for this ride, I don't know. But it would be pretty cool if they've added a whole new series of letters into the game, maybe using different fonts for different rides, sort of the same way TNTK will allow us to do that in Planet Coaster 1. You can also see some balloon or animatronic structure to the right of a jellyfish. These will be really cool to use. And all around the image on those purple rocks, which are part of the new kind of tropical pack that we're going to get with this game, you can see a lot of decals and different coral effects. all sorts really of new scenery for this game theme, which is going to be really interesting to use. The park guests look like they've also received a huge upgrade from the previous game, with a lot more variety of how the guests look and the different clothes they're wearing, which is great to see. We can also see that the ride operator booth will be returning in this game. You can see it just off there in the background. I'm assuming this will be the same for coasters too. Now this is a fantastic shot of one of the buildings that you'll be able to create in the game, showing us a lot more diversity with the different pieces that we can use, and it also doesn't look as fixed to a grid as it used to before. You can see a couple of pieces from Planet Coaster 1, like the fence piece on the left on the blue building, but also a lot more new pieces like these foliage pieces, the supports for this balcony on the building right in front of us, and then these like wave facade elements as well that are running down the side of all three buildings. And this shot here gives us a nice look at the different diversity in the new guests in the game, which is fantastic to see. You can see in the background here there looks to be a whole host of different benches and bins, and I'm assuming different path interacting objects throughout the entire game as well, which is brilliant to see. And speaking of different things that the guests can interact with, this park guest is pushing herself along on a float in the water as well, which is really cool to see. And with this water park integration, we are also getting a new park mascot. Again, nice new addition to the game, just more content is always welcome. You can also see here sun lounges, which I'd assume will act in the same way as benches did in Planet Coaster 1, where you can attach them to the path and the guests can use them freely as they want to. And that's it. That's everything I noticed in the Planet Coaster trailer. Please let me know if you noticed anything else while you were watching along in the comments. I'd be thrilled to hear what you all think of the game. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe for more Planet Coaster 2 content, as I'm sure there will be loads more on the way. Any more news that we find out, I'll be sure to make content on it also. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.